Good day, students. Welcome to RATS, Racing Against Time for Students in Pathology. These set of classes shall be confined to general pathology. A 55-year-old male, a diabetic, obese, with a history of chronic smoking and irregular treatment, developed a severe stabbing chest pain. He was hospitalized but died in spite of intensive care. The autopsy revealed an organ change as shown in the adjacent picture. I hope you people from the clinical history itself are able to guess the diagnosis. So this is a picture that is shown. I hope you people can make a diagnosis. Even before that, I would like you people to see that there are some pale patchy areas which are seen. And in fact, they are becoming more and more confluent that it looks like a geographic map. Any diagnosis? Necrosis. So it is a case of a necrosis of the heart, otherwise called as myocardial infarction. The importance of it is very well depicted in the enclosure. And the gravity of this is, if you omit this, you omit medicine. It comes from the Greek word necrosis, which means death or cell death. And death itself is depicted by a number of words: necrosis, apoptosis, gangrene, autolysis, and heterolysis. The first three terms we shall be knowing. Necrosis, usually it is for a group of cells. Apoptosis, it is for individual cells and programmed. Gangrene, a death in mass. Autolysis, it can be self-inflicted by the own enzymes of the cell, or it can be by degeneration. Once you remove an organ and throw it, it undergoes autolysis. Heterolysis, on the contrary, is a degenerative death due to other cells, inflammatory cells or bacteria or so forth. So these terms I would like you people to become familiar with. And this is a very beautiful picture I had picked up from the net. Death, whether it is at the human level or at the cellular level, it spells gloom. And the sense of sadness can be seen. And the terms will be the types of necrosis, etc., as shown here. And what is the definition? Necrosis is the sum total of the morphological changes that take place in a dead tissue while it forms part of the living body. Beautiful definition. Necrosis is the sum total of the morphological changes that take place in a dead tissue while it forms part of the living body. And the types are given over here, which we shall be seeing repeatedly: coagulative, liquefactive, caseous, fat, fibrinoid. And this is the hallmark of this projection: definitions. Are definitions. I do not want students to answer them in their own words. Don't say it is cell death and so on and so forth. I want exactly the same definition. It is the sum total of the morphological changes that take place in a dead tissue while it forms part of the living body. And what are all the changes in necrosis? They depend on, one, the denaturation of the proteins. You have got a lot of proteins within the cell. And then there can be an enzymatic degeneration, either because of the lysosomal enzymes or because of the inflammatory cells or the bacteria, etc. Sometimes they can undergo secondary changes such as calcification. All these are the major changes in necrosis. Look at this one. This is described as a tombstone appearance. This is again supposed to be an analogy to the cell. The outline is very well preserved and it stands the test of time. A tombstone. And we describe a cell with this kind of an appearance, a tombstone appearance. Or there can be, this is an old book, and in the old books you'll be finding fine holes. And this is a typical moth-eaten appearance, which is again seen in coagulative necrosis. Why it is so, we shall see. In the nucleus, there are some changes. One is called a dissolution of the chromatin, called as karyolysis. Lysis means dissolution. Pycnosis. The nucleus becomes condensed. The chromatin becomes condensed and small, dark. Karyorrhexis, on the contrary, karyo means chromatin. There is a fragmentation of the chromatin and hence it is so. So there can be a karyolysis, pycnosis, or a karyorrhexis. The descriptions are given over here. And this is a normal cell, a very diagrammatic one taken from a basic book in biology. The cytoplasm you see, it is not pink. This is a pink color. Whereas here, it is somewhat bluish pink. We call it as amphophilic. That is because there is a lot of RNA that is involved in it. And so it has got an amphophilic tinge. Nucleus, on the contrary, is bluish because of the chromatin. Always the nucleus will take up a blue color. The cytoplasm is supposed to be pink or eosinophilic, but here it is amphophilic. And also, classically, you find that there are a number of organelles, the Golgi apparatus, mitochondria, endoplasmic reticulum, etc., within the cell. Now, when these are being removed one by one, you find that there is a hole in the cytoplasm. And that is typically the moth-eaten appearance which you see in the cell. So there is a moth-eaten appearance due to the loss of the organelles. What are the general features of a necrotic cell? You find that the cytoplasm becomes homogeneous, it is pale and eosinophilic because it loses all the bluish RNA. It is agranular because the organelles are not there. Again, moth-eaten because they are being removed. Moth-eaten appearance. Nuclei are gradually expelled or dissolved. So this will be the classical picture of any form of a necrosis in the beginning. And then, why should we have the different types of these necrosis? A coagulative necrosis. Coagulation is solidification. You can take the coagulation of blood itself. You find it is getting clotted. Now look at this. I hope you people are able to identify the organ. There is a darker area and then there is a lighter area. We call it a corticomedullary differentiation. But then let us concentrate on the pathology alone. I am finding a slightly irregular but more or less a wedge-shaped area which is pale in color, and this is an infarct. And in the margin I can find some darker lines. We shall see the resemblance or the improvement of it in the future. Coagulative necrosis commonly occurs in the solid parenchymal organs such as the heart, the kidney, and the liver. Why do you get coagulation? It is because of the rapid degeneration of the proteins, and also there is a rapid destruction of the lysosomal enzymes. So though the proteins are degenerated, there is nothing to dissolve them, as a result of which they are solidified. Degeneration of proteins, destruction of the enzymes. Therefore, it is too fast for lysis to occur. Hence, there is solidification or coagulation. Look at this microscopic picture. It is a normal picture of the cardiac muscle. I find bundles of cardiac muscle. I find that the nuclear outline is very clear. The cellular outline is well demarcated. I'm able to see some kind of striations, so cross striations can be made out. And this is the cut surface of the same. So the cellular details are very well made out. Now what happens in a case of a necrosis? As I told you, there is a coagulation. When you boil an egg, this is what we see. You can take this to be a nucleus and this the cytoplasm. The outline is preserved. There is a coagulation of the proteins, outline of the cell is preserved. That is due to inactivation of the lysosomal enzymes. When the organelles are being removed, it leads to a moth-eaten appearance. Nucleus can show karyorrhexis or karyolysis. See what has happened over here and compare it with this. The nucleus is not conspicuous. The cross striations are not there. And the cytoplasm is homogeneous and eosinophilic. So these changes are there. I hope you people are able to compare and identify the differences. So this used to be described as a city of the dead. A tombstone appearance is a city of the dead. When you go to any graveyard or cemetery, you will be having this kind of a picture. Look at this one. Again, the kidney, the corticomedullary differentiation. I'm able to see the renal pyramids, but again, pale areas. Pale areas which are more or less triangular or wedge shaped, which is classical of a coagulative necrosis. Remember this, a wedge. And this is a histological picture. Little difficult for the students, but still we shall try to make out. On the left side, there is a line that is demarcating the necrotic area from the live area. I'm able to see the outline of the tubules and multiple blue dots are seen. They are all the nuclei. So these are all the tubules with the nuclei. The glomerulus also shows a number of nuclei, which means it is live. On the contrary, when I see the tubules on the other side, it is homogeneous, eosinophilic, but still the outline is maintained. We call it as a city of the dead appearance. There is a coagulation of the proteins, loss of the nucleus. So pale, eosinophilic, acellular, and that is going to be the description, agranular rather, not acellular. The next one is a liquefactive necrosis. Contrary to the coagulative necrosis, here it is liquefied or dissolved. It happens in the case of the brain. Whenever there is an infarct of the brain, there is a liquefactive necrosis. And secondly, it can happen in any of the abscesses. Abscess because of the bacterial enzymes or the inflammatory cells. You find that there is a dissolution, powerful enzymes are being poured into, they dissolve the material. This is a actual photograph of a brain abscess. I'm finding a well delimited abscess, and then there is an area of congestion that is seen. These are all the normal parenchyma that is present. So the liquefactive necrosis, one is a brain abscess, second one is an abscess elsewhere in the body. What is an abscess itself? An abscess is nothing but a localized collection of pus. It is a purulent, that means it's pus. So it is consisting of the degenerated cells, degenerated inflammatory cells, the dead bacteria, etc. That is the abscess. Externally, there can be congestion, that is stasis of blood. So this can be an abscess. As I told you, whether it is because of the own enzymes or because of the inflammatory cells, we do not know. Sorry. And in this one again, the N means an area of necrosis. How do I identify a necrosis? This is relatively eosinophilic, pink in color, and this is bluish because of the lot of inflammatory cells which are present. So you are supposed to explain this. And why do you get this autolysis or heterolysis? It is because of the powerful hydrolytic enzymes, which lead to liquefaction or dissolution. And the material is composed of the dead cells, inflammatory cells, and the bacteria. Here again, the process is too rapid, but it is because of the powerful hydrolytic enzymes. It destroys even the lysosomal enzymes, etc., and there is a total dissolution. Luckily, tissues such as the brain, they do not have fibrosis. Fibrosis is a tissue that is attempted at healing. But since there is no fibrosis, there is no contraction of the brain tissue, it does not lead to any form of constriction. Look at this one, there is no fibrosis here. Because of that, there is no damage to the surrounding tissue. So this is the brain tissue, inflammatory cells, areas of necrosis. The third one is caseous necrosis. We had explained coagulative necrosis and liquefactive necrosis. Caseous is somewhat via media between them. So this is a specimen of a lung, LS for lung, and this is the case of caseous necrosis. This is a lymph node or a nodule in the lung that is showing some yellowish semi-solid material, which is seen. And this is described as cheese-like. So normally when you cut it, it has to pour out, but it doesn't happen. It remains static because it is cheese-like, semi-solid, pasty. And it happens in all tuberculous lesions. In fact, caseous necrosis is a hallmark of tuberculosis. Wherever it is, whether it is a lung, lymph node, kidney, or the meninges, you will be finding caseous necrosis. And look at this one. This is a kidney. We had seen an earlier kidney, but see the difference in this one. You find parenchyma is thinned out, but more important is there is a lot of yellowish, semi-solid, irregular material that is replacing the kidney. Patchy areas. And this is a lymph node, in which again I am finding pale areas, which are yellowish white in color. And sometimes they can all join together to form the coalescence. So you find that they are all joining together. So there's a kidney over here, there's a lymph node, and this is the area of necrosis which is shown by this diagram. Please draw these diagrams, it will be of use. Microscopically, what do you see? I would like you people to understand this, draw this, as well as explain this. This is a granuloma. You find that there is a central pale collection of epithelioid cells. Epithelioid cells are large and pale, and they have got somewhat a slipper-shaped nucleus. This is the nucleus, and this is the cytoplasm outside. Sometimes these nuclei can all coalesce together to form a much larger cell, which is called the epithelioid giant cell, or the Langerhans type of giant cell. So epithelioid cells forming the Langerhans type of giant cell. Lymphocytes are there in the periphery, and still outside we may find the fibroblasts. This is a beautiful line diagram. I would like you people to draw this. There is a central area of necrosis, and these are the epithelioid cells. The lymphocytes are smaller dark blue cells which are found in the periphery, and as an attempt of restricting the inflammation, we have got a rim of fibroblasts. So this is a classical diagram I would like you people to draw. Langerhans giant cell, areas of necrosis, epithelioid cells, lymphocytes, and fibroblasts. Next is the fat necrosis. Two areas are prominent. One is the pancreas. Acute pancreatitis, you get a omental fat necrosis. And second one is trauma to the breast. Breast is another tissue that has got abundant fat. These are the two hallmarks or classical examples of fat necrosis. In this, I am finding there are chalky white areas in the pancreas. Multiple chalky white areas are seen, or yellowish white areas are seen. They are areas of precipitate. This again, I find that there are multiple areas throughout, and in this, I'm able to find a larger circle in which there are almost coalescing or joining together areas of calcification. Now, what happens is in pancreatitis, there are multiple enzymes such as the lipase, trypsin, amylase, etc. Once there is a pancreatitis, all these enzymes are released. And when the lipase goes into the surrounding fat, it dissolves it. Simultaneously, there is a precipitation of calcium soaps. and the process is called as saponification. The process is called as saponification. And this is the microscopic picture. This is a normal fat that is shown, omental fat itself. I am finding cells are large, circular. There is a peripherally pushed nucleus. Cytoplasm is empty. Otherwise, cells are fairly regular and round. This is normal fat. Whereas this is also fat, but see what has happened. The cells have become large, irregular. They have ruptured. Sometimes they have all joined together to form a cloudy outline. And there can be a bluish precipitate of calcium which can be seen. The arrow is showing to you. Externally, there is a fibrocollagenous tissue, and the dark blue dots indicate inflammatory cells such as the lymphocytes. Histiocytes can also be seen. So again, I explained, you find that there are large, shadowy, cloud-like outlines of the fat spaces. Nuclear details are not very clear, and there is a precipitation of calcium and calcium soaps. Destruction of the adipocytes, shadowy in outline, basophilic tinge or color because of the calcium. Lymphocytes and histiocytes can be seen in the periphery. Coming to the last one, it is a fibrinoid necrosis. OID is a suffix. It means similar to. Since it resembles fibrin, it is called fibrinoid. It is commonly seen in vasculitis. It is a blood vessel over here, the endothelium, and this is the media. I find that there is a eosinophilic acellular area that is occupying the media. So this is classical of a condition called as vasculitis. The basic pathology is supposed to be immunological. Antigen-antibody complexes, when they join, they create havoc, and it can result in a vasculitis. It may be a type 3 hypersensitivity such as an Arthus phenomenon. Since it is fibrin-like material, it is called as fibrinoid necrosis. It is eosinophilic acellular. Polyarthritis nodosa is a classical example of this. This particular diagram I would like you people to memorize and draw. So this is the normal endothelium or the inner lining. The Y is the immunoglobulin, and this is supposed to be the antigen. Together they form a complex. Once there is a complex, they get attached to the vessel wall, and they lead to generation lot of mediators which will cause a necrosis, which is called as fibrinoid necrosis. And look at this one. There are pale eosinophilic areas which are acellular and classical of fibrinoid necrosis. Kindly draw this diagram. It is important. I hope you people will be able to recollect the different types of necrosis. Gracias.